Morning in Namk village was unusually quiet. Dew still clung to the tips of the grass and a faint chill rode the wind as it swept across the earthen yard in front of the thatched cottage. In the courtyard, Luk Trong was bent over splitting firewood. He was tall and broad-shouldered, sleeves rolled up, each swing of the axe clean and decisive, beads of sweat forming on his brow. In the kitchen, Luk Trong was tending the fire. The pot on the stove was still the same old one, its rim chipped. Inside was thin porridge, just a handful of wild greens, and a few grains of rice left over from the ration issued by the magistrate's office the day before. The flame beneath it burned weakly, much like the fate of the three brothers themselves. No one spoke, yet each carried his own thoughts. Luk Trong brought the axe down hard. The wood split with a dry crack. Tsk. He ground his teeth, muttering in a low voice as if speaking only to himself. That old woman. Shamelessly lustful. Luk Trong heard him from the kitchen. After a moment of silence, he replied, irritation barely concealed in his voice. Already 1 foot in the grave, yet she still drags others into her fate. The three of us really are unlucky. The axe fell again, harder than before. Yeah, Luk Trong sneered. If we weren't convict slaves, who would ever agree to be a dying old woman's husbands? The words had barely left his mouth. A clear yet cool voice sounded behind them. Husbands. Are you scolding me? The entire courtyard froze. The axe in Luk Trong's hand nearly slipped from his grip. In the kitchen, Luk Trong sprang to his feet, almost knocking over the pot of porridge. They both turned sharply. Under the morning sun stood a young woman. She wore plain, light-colored homespun clothes. Her black hair fell loosely down her back. Her skin was fair, her features delicate, her eyes clear yet unfathomably deep. Sunlight fell upon her, making the shabby thatched house suddenly feel unreal. The air was so still they could hear the wind. Luk Trong stared, eyes wide, lips trembling. Why you? Who are you? The young woman tilted her head, the corners of her lips curving faintly. Don't recognize me. I am Sumayan. Those 2 words fell like a thunderclap. Luk Trong staggered back a step, gripping the kitchen deframe to steady himself. That's impossible. The wife master was clearly an old woman. Sumayan finished calmly. Coughing up blood just yesterday. Both men were struck dumb. At that moment, Luk Trong stepped out from the room. He had already changed his clothes, his expression composed. Yet standing beside Sumayan, the apparent gap in age nearly vanished. Do not be disrespectful, he said in a low voice. Greetings, wife master. Luk Trong and Luk Trong seemed jolted awake. They quickly lowered their heads. Wife master. Sumayan looked at them one by one, neither reproachful nor angry. She spoke softly. What you think in your hearts I won't interfere with. But from today onward, I am still alive. The 3 men fell silent. Breakfast was set out in the courtyard. The old wooden table still wobbled, steadied by a stone under one leg. On it sat a bowl of white rice full and steaming, and 3 bowls of wild vegetable porridge, so thin the bottoms were visible. Sumayan glanced at it, said nothing and sat down. Luk Trong scratched his head awkwardly. Wife master. There's no rice left at home. Luk Trong added apologetically. We used almost all the ration from the magistrate yesterday. Today there's only enough to leave rice for you. Luk Truong Fong nodded. And we have no money left. This porridge is the best we could do. Su Mayan looked at the 3 bowls of thin porridge, then at the white rice before her. She picked up her chopsticks. But she didn't eat right away. What kind of person, she asked slowly, do you think I am? The 3 brothers fell completely silent. Su Mayan scooped a spoonful of rice and placed it into Luk Truong Fong's bowl of porridge, then evenly divided the rest between the other 2. Eat together, she said. From today on. They stared at her in shock. But, wife, master. I already said it. Her gaze was calm, unwavering. I am alive. And I do not intend to starve to death. In her mind, the system's voice sounded light yet clear. Ding! Remaining husband's perception altered. Bond increased slightly. Family fortune +1. The morning breeze passed through the courtyard. 4 people sat around the old wooden table, eating a poor yet peaceful breakfast. None of them knew that from this moment on their fates had truly become bound together. Early morning mist had yet to fully dissipate, and the entire village lay shrouded in a hazy stillness. She wore a coarse cloth garment worn thin, at the shoulders her hair tied neatly back. Her expression was calm, but plans were already forming in her mind. Today, she decided to take her 3 husbands to the back mountain. The 3 men stood in the courtyard, each with a different demeanor. Kin Truong Fong was steady, tall, and taciturn. Kin Truong Anh was quick and sharp-eyed. Kin Truong Van, the youngest, carried a hint of recklessness, but listened to her closely. What are we doing in the back mountain? Kin Truong Anh asked, first suspicion in his voice. She didn't answer directly, merely curving her lips slightly. To dig wild vegetables. And something more valuable than vegetables. They exchanged glances, doubtful yet silent, as they followed her. Ever since she awoke from that near-fatal fever, her decisions no longer seemed simple. Behind the mountain lay a vast stretch of wasteland. Weeds grew knee-high, rubble mixed with mud. This place had once been a battlefield. Over a decade ago, a great clash had taken place here. Corpses had been buried hastily, and villagers, fearing bad luck, had avoided the area ever since. As soon as she crossed the forest boundary, she suddenly stopped. A chill slid down her spine. Dry earth, sparse weeds, broken bones half buried in mud, remnants of the battlefield of old. Not a single coin in sight. The sun began to dip westward. The sunset dyed the mountainside red. Cold wind rustled through the grass, the sound unsettling. Kin Truong Anh lowered his voice. It's getting late. This place feels wrong. Kin Truong Fong tightened his grip on the hoe, scanning the surroundings warily. They say old battlefields have lingering resentment. At night, you can run into unclean things. Kin Truong then swallowed, forcing a smile. Maybe we should head back. No one said it outright, but regret had already begun to surface. They all looked at Su Mayan. She stood before an unremarkable patch of ground, no large trees, no strange rocks, nothing unusual. For a brief moment she closed her eyes. Within her body, her fortune-based ability stirred. Beginner-level wood element energy merged with the spiritual breath of heaven and earth. What had been vague grew clear. Something lay hidden deep underground, quietly resonating with her. Suddenly she opened her eyes, her gaze sharp and utterly different from before. Here. Her voice was decisive. Kin Truong then froze. Kin Truong Anh let out a dry laugh. Here. We've been digging all this time, there's nothing. Qin Fong hesitated, then nodded. Maybe. We dig a bit more, then leave. The sky was darkening, mountain shadows stretching like crouching beasts. Just as they wavered, Su Mayan raised her hand and pointed straight down. Her voice rang out. Dig. Right where I'm standing. For reasons they couldn't explain, the command made all three hearts tremble. Without thinking, they raised their hoes. The first struck dry soil. The second still soil. The third keng. A sound completely different rang out. Metal. All three froze. Qin Van's voice shook. There's something. They dug frantically. Dirt flew aside. Then under the dying sunlight, a corner of silvery white emerged. Qin Fong gasped. Silver. Real silver. A moment later they pulled out an old oilcloth bundle. Inside lay dull grey silver ingots, tarnished by time yet heavy, gleaming with a familiar cold luster. Not much, but enough to save a family from hunger and cold. The three men stood rooted to the spot, speechless. They turned to Su Mayan, the young woman standing calmly in the twilight, skirt fluttering in the wind, expression as though all this were only natural. Only one thought filled their minds. Hand pointing right with back of hand showing this woman is anything but ordinary. And from that moment on, faith began to take root slowly, yet unshakably. As dusk deepened, they uncovered everything in the pit. 5 silver ingots. Several strings of copper coins, the cords rotten. An old dented iron pot, blackened with soot. Several old swords, chipped and rusted, but still sturdy at the hilts. And a pitch-black lump, neither quite stone nor metal. Su Mayan glanced at it, something stirring within her, but night was approaching. Take everything, she said. No more digging. The sky was unsafe at this hour. On the way back, they encountered a massive clump of wild taro. The men instinctively shielded her, fearing it or poison, carefully digging it up. Dozens of plump tubers emerged. That's enough, she said. Remember this place. We'll return tomorrow. Farther on they found thick black wood ear mushrooms clinging to a dead tree. Good stuff, Su Mayan called out. Pick them. By the time they returned home, the path no longer felt heavy. That night under the flickering oil lamp, she patiently taught them taro wasn't poisonous. If cooked properly, wood ear only needed soaking. Nutritious filling. They ate slowly, almost reverently. For the first time in a long while they were eating like human beings. Later the truth of their past spilled out. Their father, once a military officer, executed for refusing to submit to the Chancellor's faction. Their mother beheaded before the gates. The 3 brothers branded as permanent convict slaves. When they finished, silence filled the hut. Su Mayan sighed, not in fear, but in pity. If you are mine, she said calmly, then I will protect you. In her mind, the system chimed again. Ding! Defying fate route established. Confrontation with powerful authority activated. Outside, the night wind passed over the thatched roof. Inside that small house, those who had refused to kneel finally had someone standing in front of them.